So 80s cars are in right now. Everybody wants one. I mean, we got the mullets coming back in style. We've got the vintage rock tees. For people that don't even listen to rock, you know, they be listening to Lil Baby in their car with the Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction tee. It's kind of stupid, but if they like the style and don't listen to music, that's on them. And also, I feel like another big contributor to this 80s style is Stranger Things. Everybody's taking cues from that show and putting it into their own style. I mean, the week after the last episode of Stranger Things came out, I saw the local NBA YoungBoy fan in my neighborhood come home listening to freaking Master of Puppets. But that didn't last more than 2 days. And then he was back listening to Blueface. So the prices of 80s cars have also gone up. They've got the fashion, now they need to get the car. And because of this, in the last couple years, the 88.6 went from like a $7,000 to possibly like $9,000 if it was mint to $20,000. And that's happened for a lot of other 80s cars too, especially 80s muscle cars for a while, like the 3rd gen Camaros, the 3rd gen Trans Ams, and even like, you know, 80s Mustangs were considered to be the worst because they didn't have enough horsepower and the styling was ugly. Now it's the opposite. Everybody likes that boxy, simple, cheap style that was so big in the 80s. So in today's video, we're gonna go over the top 5 most underrated Japanese cars from the 80s that, you know, are still very cheap nowadays. I know a lot of you guys are trying to get your hands on the 88.6 and sometimes it's just not possible. But there's other cars that kind of have the same styling, almost as cool or even cooler than the 88.6 that are a fraction of the price. And honestly, 2 of these cars on my list are dream cars for me. After watching the video, leave down in the comments which 2 you think are my dream cars. I'll give you a hint, I like the quirky ones. So first up on the list, we have the FB RX-7. Because of Initial D, the FCs are super expensive, especially the Turbo 2s, the white, you know, because Ryosuke had one. And Fast and Furious made the FD super popular, so those have gone out of the market for the budget-friendly people. So what you are left with is the FB, and honestly, it's not a bad pick. It's super beautiful. It still has that beautiful styling that all the other RX-7s have. And again, they took styling from Porsche. So I mean, it does look like a Euro car. But it has that rotary engine that a lot of you guys love. The earlier versions of the FB had the 12A engine, that was a carbureted engine, and then the later models had the 13A, which came with a lot of other nice amenities. This car's horsepower ranged from 115 to 135 depending on what version you got. I mean, it is a pretty good bang for your buck. You can find these for like 4 to 7K all day long, depending on the condition.
The car you've been waiting for is waiting for you. The Mazda RX-7.
I mean, look at this one right here and tell me that you won't want this. $7,000 and you get this beautiful RX-7 FB. I love this curved glass in the back and it's fresh paint. Everything works. This is a steal. I mean, imagine paying $20,000 for an 88.6 because it was in an anime when you can get this car for $7,000 and it is arguably more beautiful. And I mean, these are really gonna go up in value in the future. Right now, they're underrated because of the FC and the FD, but because of the later models of the RX-7 getting so expensive, the only rotary car you can afford now is the FB, and people will start to buy those up and they'll start going up in price like they are right now. And the next car on this list is so underrated that it's not in any of these videos. It's kind of crazy how nobody knows about this car when it's literally so cool, and that is the Pulsar NX.
Introducing the 1988 Nissan Pulsar NX, now more powerful than ever.
Everybody knows the homologation Pulsar GTIR they have to import from Japan, but this one was actually sold in America, so they're pretty cheap. You can find these for around $2,500 and maybe $5,000 in really nice condition, but they are extremely rare. This car made only 90 horsepower and is front wheel drive, but you're not buying this because it is a sporty car or even because it handles good. In just general, it's just a cool car. It's a car that's not fun to drive, but more fun to own. And this is because it was the first and probably the only modular car that you can get. It came with 2 tops, so you could either have the coupe notchback top, or you can take that off and put a hatchback top on it. So you can pretty much change what car you have on just changing out the top. One day you want to drive a hatchback because you need more space, go in the grocery store, put the hatchback top on. Next day you want to feel a little bit more sporty, take that off and then put the notch back on. If you just want to have it off, then it looks like a mini truck. And if you want to have some wind in your hair, take the T-tops off. So there's a lot of different things you can change out in this car. It's very versatile, and you'll never find a car like this again. It just literally screams 80s. The taillights are so beautiful with the diagonal lines. This car, like I said, is just something so special and not a lot of people know about it. So you can get these cars for cheap. This one right here was sold in 2020 for only $3,000. And I mean, look at the condition. It's not that bad. It has the notchback on there right now. $3,000, man, you can have a car as cool as this. Just think about that for a while. Third one on this list is the 300ZX Z31.
Today there's a new power on the road. Today all eyes are on the sports car news of the decade. The first Nissan 300ZX.
This is in the shadow of the Z32, and that's why they are so cheap. If you get the non-turbo version of this, you can get one for like $7,000 in mint condition, and it is such a cheap car for what you get. It has that beautiful styling of the 80s, boxy and wedge shape, but at the same time sleek. And a great thing is it's also way more reliable than the Z32s, and that's definitely something I look for in a car. And man oh man, one day these are going to be worth a lot. For a while they were really cheap, and right now they're kind of gaining in popularity and going up a little bit in price, so make sure if you're looking for one of these, buy it now and just get it out of the way. You can option one of these babies with T-tops, and this would just be such a fun cruising car. In my opinion, I like the earlier models where the taillights resembled more of the 280ZX versus more of the like kind of skinny, newer-ish 90s style. That wasn't it at all. Definitely get one of the earlier versions, but this car is just so sleek. I mean, what else can I say? It's got good horsepower too. It has 160 horsepower and it's rear-wheel drive. This is a perfect car if you are looking for a fun, cheap FR sports car. Here is an example of a great one to buy. The price on this is $6,800. You get a car with decent paint, everything is there, the car works flawlessly, the interior except for the steering wheel is in very good condition, and I mean, he's OBO, which means you could get this for like $6,000 or even less, and I mean, dude, who would not want to drive this car? Now there's a car that's also FR that makes around the same horsepower that is arguably more cooler and more underrated. I don't know if it's just because it's in the shadow of the Eclipse and the Evo, but the car I'm talking about is a Mitsubishi Starion, or also known as the Chrysler Plymouth Dodge Conquest.
Approach control, I'm taking it home. I'll see you later.
Roger.
Of all the sports cars in its class, only Mitsubishi makes one with an intercooled turbocharged engine. Four-wheel disc brakes and race car stance for handling. Starion esi-r. You don't see a sports car like this every day.
This car had an inline-4 turbo engine making 145 horsepower to 197 depending on the trim you got. It was rear-wheel drive, and if you get the wide-body version of the car, yes, they literally had a wide-body version of the car, just like the Dodge Hellcat wide-body. This car looks so badass. The original one took styling just like the FB-RX-7 from a Porsche, but then they made it wide body and it just looks so cool from factory. And if you get the esi-r trim, you're making almost 200 horsepower from a little inline-4 engine, and the car just looks so good. And for some reason, with all that said, this car is still underrated. You can get a really nice one for like $7,000 to $8,000. I honestly have to say this is one of the best looking cars from the 80s. Here's an example of one to buy. This one already sold, so unfortunately you can't buy this one. But I mean, for $9,000, look at this car and tell me you don't want it. It is the esi-r model, so it is the wide body version of the car. And with that red, it just looks so damn sleek. It has a Mitsubishi badge, which you almost never see today, so you'll definitely be unique in this car. I mean, man, this car has some good lines on it. And the last but definitely not least car that I want to add to this list is the 3rd gen Honda Prelude.
Prelude SI. It's an incredible turn of events.
Everybody knows the 5th gen Honda Prelude, but the 3rd gen is actually where it's at. This car, if you got the SI version, had 4-wheel steer, which is something you almost never see today. It had 135 horsepower, so it definitely was not lacking in horsepower, especially back in the day, and it was front-wheel drive. If you're looking to buy a Civic but the EKs are too expensive or the EGs are getting too expensive, definitely look into this car because it's something different and you never see these on the road. Not only that, but it is a beautiful two-door, and it definitely has that old Honda styling. And if you're a fan of pop-ups, it makes this car even more appealing. All you have to do to this car, literally all you have to do is lower it a little bit, and this car looks perfect. And if you're looking to buy an 886, just consider this, $7,500. and you get a 76,000 original mile car that is minty, dude. This car is so minty. Just expand your horizons a little bit and look into these other cars. They definitely will go up in value just like the 886. It will just take more time because they are definitely underappreciated. And I love these satin seats. They just scream the 80s, and overall this is an amazing car to get. I understand this is 1991, but they started making this car in 1988, and that's why I'm going to classify this as an 80s car. If you did enjoy this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing down below. Make sure to comment down below what do you think my 2 dream cars are from this list. Join the Discord if you like the game. I'll definitely see you guys in the next one, so peace out.